This is the kind of video I wish I had found when I was 21 and I started working for the very first time in my life. I worked only 2 years of my life just to find out that I don't want to work again. Never again. For anyone else, but just for me. Today I'm going to share with you the lessons that I have learned from this so you can be aware of what you should pay attention to and not make the same mistakes as me. Whether you are going to start working or you are working already. Don't make my mistakes, and if you are young and new into the job world like I was, then this video will probably help you a lot. Okay, so let's get started. Whether you are working cleaning bathrooms or you have a good position in a good company, I have read a lot of books and I also met people working in different job positions and yet they had the same experiences. Of course, you will have better working conditions working in a big, good company and having a good position than being a bathroom cleaner. That's obvious, right? But in general, the entire work system works the same as long as you're just another employee working to develop your boss company. I'm always observing and analyzing every single thing of my life, and I didn't like that system. I basically hate it a lot. Let me tell you why, because point number one, do the bare minimum or you will get rewarded with more work. And guess what? Exactly. For free. I have an interesting story from my work that explains this point very well, and it's also kind of funny. So I was working at, of course, I'm not going to tell you the name of the company, but it was a trampoline park and just a place where you can go and jump and have fun and blah blah blah. So in my working team there was a guy. We started all working together since the very first day it opened. He was very devoted to work. He was always very active doing things. You never saw him standing still. He always did his tasks running and he always asked to do more. He just tried to do everything as perfect as possible. Every time he finished a task, they gave him more work to do, and that's how he never stopped working, basically. Of course, he did all of that because he had one clear goal, which is be the team leader. That guy was somehow admirable, and I really thought that he deserves that position. We have always gotten along very well together. So after a year being a perfect worker, our contract was going to an end, so they were going to decide which workers to keep, which workers to fire, and which workers to promote. So the manager and the boss promised him some months ago that he will be the team leader after renewing the contract. But guess what? Our trampoline park had the lowest turnover in a year, because it was a franchise, right? And so the boss decided that he had to fire a lot of people because we were making him lose money. So that's how they fired basically 90% of our team, leaving only 3 people there working of our team, of course. Of course, I was fired too. But you know what, I was glad for it, I was happy because I anyways wanted to leave that job, I was done with it. Okay, so what happened with our perfect and favorite worker ever? So our boss and manager put his partner as the team leader. And not only that, but he also was fired. Nothing more to say. All his efforts for a whole year were for nothing, but for nothing. Oh my god, I feel so sorry for him. Even though I'm laughing right now, but it's kind of funny somehow. This is just something for us to learn from. He felt so dumb and so miserable. Anyways, I feel so dumb right now because, I also did a lot of extra work that I shouldn't have to. Because you don't get nothing in return, like my dear friend. They never paid me that extra money for my extra work. even though I was doing tasks that were not in my contract. Like, for example, I was working as customer service, like talking with people and blah, blah, blah. But I was doing a lot of, cleaning stuff and also working in the kitchen and blah, 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 doing things that were not in my contract. I really regret not limiting myself strictly to doing what says in my contract to do, and that's it. So you may be wondering, why are people still doing that extra stuff and extra work for nothing in return, even though they know that they won't get nothing in return? Because in my case, for example, I had no intention of continuing working with them anymore anyways. So I was done with that job, with that company, with the boss, with the manager, with everyone. I didn't like it. It was not the job of my life. I didn't want any promotion, and my life didn't depend on that job. It's like, you fire me, okay, and I don't care. I can just search for another job and that's it. But if your life depends on that job, or your family, your children, whatever, you can't be fired. Like, no matter what happens, you can't be fired because there are people depending on you. So in that situation, you have to do that extra shit. Even though it's unfair and it sucks, I know. But you don't want to get fired the next week for any mysterious reason, which is not doing your extra work because anyone else is doing it and you are not willing to cooperate and blah blah blah. There are a lot of people and families living that miserable situation nowadays. My parents included were, and I know it sucks, but this was basically the reason number one that made me decide that I will never work for anyone again. Point number 2, HR is not there to protect you. HR is there to protect the company. HR meaning human resources. For sure, there are a lot of great jobs and great companies who truly cares for their employees, but these companies are so rare and you have to have a lot of luck to land a job with one of them. For many of us though, we are just working for unfair salaries and bad bosses and managers just to figure out that companies are not really looking for us. Not even your boss, your manager, or human resources. For example, you have to give 2 weeks notice in advance whenever you want to quit, but yet your company can lay us off whenever they choose to or they want to with no freaking warning. Yes, that's so unfair and sucks. So that's why it's comfortable to think that human resources are there to help you in those situations, but that's not necessarily true. Human resources are usually there for, paperwork, benefits, payroll. So they just make sure that everyone is focusing on work and not bothering anyone else, like the work as a team, bad managers, bad relationship, and all that stuff. They just serve the interest of the company, whether that matches up your interest or not. So be careful with that and don't rely 100% on human resources if you have any problem. Because, finding good people on your human resources department willing to help you is definitely not impossible, but it can be taught. Document everything you do or say. And I can hear you saying, but if I am doing my job well already, what's the point of documenting every single thing that I'm doing, right? Yes, I was there too, but that's wrong because you have to have a proof of your work. And with that proof, you have to defend yourself in case something happens. Because, spoiler, it will happen. This point is more important than you think. For example, I was always doing my work, talking with clients, resolving problems, making sales, and sometimes doing even more. Yet my manager was always bullying me, like literally bullying me. I always say to our main boss, like, but she works so slow, and she's not being nice to the customers, and she's neglecting her tasks. I was like, Excuse me, what are you saying? I was the only one talking with customers for hours. I even had photos with them because we got along so well. And by the way, I was the only one of that team who knew how to talk in English. So whenever we had, whatever foreigner customer, no matter if I was on my free time or not, I had to go there and talk with them. Which, yeah, actually it was good for me because that's one of the main reasons why I got more fluent in English. But it was always just doing more extra shit, more extra stuff. Even if I'm not working right now, I'm doing that for you because you don't know how to speak English, but I'm not in my working hours, So that's why I got so pissed off because you are my manager and I'm doing all that extra stuff for you and now you're bullying me basically. So I was like, you are the manager. You don't even know how to talk in English like in a basic level and now you are freaking bullying me. Like, what the heck? But we have to understand something because there is a lot of backup story of my relationship, me and that manager, because he was my friend. I mean, I knew him for 2 years back then, but he liked me, and every single time he told me about it, I rejected him. So he got so pissed off, I guess. But rejection in life is not something that everyone can take in a good and mature way. So that's why maybe he got pissed off because of it, and who knows, maybe he hated me because of that. He was also a very insecure person, very toxic. His parents abandoned him when he was little, but that's not my problem. That's not a reason to be a dumbass and to bullying someone. You have to have control of your emotions, even if your life was not good for you. Later on, I figured out this, and I thought the best thing I could do is notify and document my boss directly everything I do. So then when my manager comes bullying me, I wasn't that worried anymore because I already told my boss I did this or I did that. You have to always demonstrate that you care, that you get involved with work, that you are always attentive and active, and I just hate doing that, man. It's like, I don't need your validation. I'm just doing my work. I love to work in silence. I'm doing my work well, and that's the result. But I don't have to be pursuing you every single day to tell you that I'm doing my work. I hate that. So that was another reason why I was done with common jobs. Everyone is replaceable. And look, this point is going to be super quick because it's self-explanatory, right? Because even if you are the best worker at that company, office, wherever, you've been working for them for more than 20, 30 years and you always been perfect, even if you had an honors degree at university, if you die tomorrow, the following week, they will find someone to replace you. And that's a hard truth. Yes, if you're very, very good doing your work, it's not that easy to replace you. But the only difference is that instead of taking 1 week, for example, it would take 1 month, but they will end up replacing you anyways. Your boss, your manager, your coworkers are not going to cry if you decide to leave because you're just one more insignificant piece within the entire system who works to build that company. And that's when your coworkers are not your friends. Do your work and just leave. This might sound pretty obvious, yet I will say that basically all of us fall into the same trap over and over again, thinking that, oh, my partner, my coworker is so nice, we should be friends. And think about this, if becoming friends with your coworkers is already a bad idea, then working with your family and your friends already, that's the worst idea ever. Of course, there are cases when the business goes well anyways, but in most of the cases, both the business and the relationships with your family, friends, whatever, end up getting worse because you are involving feelings and emotions with them, right? It's not just your coworker or a stranger. Well, I was working with my friends and my roommates, which is the worst, dumbest freaking thing you can ever do in your life. Because it's people you live with and you see each other 24 hours a day at work and then at home. Can you imagine? And I knew that is a very bad idea from the beginning, actually. But they just offered me to work with them, which I was grateful for somehow because I was anyways looking for a new job at that time. And I just thought, whoa, like, nice. Thank you for including me. Like, why not? It can be fun, right? But spoiler, it was not. It was not fun. It was fun the first 2 months, maybe the first 3 months. But after that, they made fun of me. They bullied me. They pissed me off. And they didn't respect me. And I was so fucking done with every single one of them. So working together was the main reason, I guess, why our relationship ended up being so bad, at the point that I had to leave that house. Everyone on that team were friends who had known each other for more than 5 or even 10 years. And so, I was the new idiot who arrived only 2 years ago there. All my life I had huge group friends, which I still loving, but that group was super toxic. Was a super toxic circle of people who spread bullshit to each other as soon as someone turns around. Which, by the way, I remember a Tupac quote, and he said, "Don't sit at the table where they are talking about others, because when you get up, you will be the next topic." They were very superficial, and they reflected all their insecurities by making fun of you instead of helping you. Because, for example, if you didn't know how to do any task, instead of coming and helping you, like, yo, look, you have to do this or you have to do that, instead of doing that way, they will come and make fun of you, like, oh, look, she doesn't know how to do that. Oh, look, she's so dumb, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay. Unfortunately, most of the working teams are like that. Of course, it's not impossible to find a very good team, have good mates. It's not impossible, like, don't have limiting beliefs, but that's the reality. You will always find people at work who want to piss you off, who makes fun of you and didn't respect you. That's the reality. So if you're at this new job, be so careful with this, because you can end up being in the same bad emotional situation like I was, just because of your team and your co-workers. I wish I knew this sooner, because if that job will cause my mental health, then it's not worth it. Like, sorry, not sorry, but let me just find another job. I don't need this. So for example, if today I'm starting a new job, which I assure you it will never happen, but anyways, if today was my first working day again at some new company or whatever, things will be very... First of all, I will be very reserved for the very first day of work. No hanging up with them, no joking with them, not talking about my life with them, not letting them accessing my emotions and my life so easy. And if some stupid coworker or even my manager piss me off or don't respect me, I will put you in your place. Like, I don't care. I don't freaking care about that job. You are going to respect me. A lot of problems come from not putting people in their place from the very first time they tried you. Playing too humbly life will always have you underlooked, underpaid, and underbooked. Do your shit, make yourself respect, and go home. Nothing else. I don't care if I'm acting crazy, because as I always say, I'd rather you think that I'm crazy than dumb. So guys, that was my own experience, my first experience in life with common jobs and work. And my conclusion to this is that stuff like this is a symptom of how society basically pushes people to overwork and live in miserable situations. And that's so sad. There are even studies that show us that as soon as you start working, you will end up being like a zombie. And that's true because while I was working, even though it just was 1 year, I end up gaining more weight. You can watch this video right here or right here about it. And I had always dark cycles. I was looking so bad, like a zombie. I was always, depressed. And actually, I saw a very recent trend in China. People there are posting their photos like before and after working, and you will get surprised by the change. But that's the reality. Unfortunately, most of the common jobs that society and maybe your parents, whatever, is always pushing you to do, it's damaging. It's damaging for your mental health. But after all, I'm so grateful for that experience because that made me realize what I really want to do in life. I will never do again. I don't like to work for anyone. I don't like to invest all my time and all my energy to build up someone else's company for a miserable salary. So if I have to invest a lot of time and energy on doing something, it will be for me only and for my projects, for my businesses and whatever. That's like my whole conclusion of all of this. So if my own experience can help someone or inspire someone, that would make me so happy. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and see you in the next video.